Welcome to Dream Talking. We're back and we're new and improved. As you can see, we're now doing video and are on YouTube. I took about a year and a half plus off of Dream Talking, mostly because of personal life circumstances, but it's never left my heart, and I'm excited and more motivated than ever to start Dream Talking again and sharing it with you guys. I've recorded 2 so far, and I'm working on getting all the stuff and the channels and stuff together so we can start releasing everything. So today's episode, or welcome back episode, is with my new very good friend and brother, and one of the most interesting people I've stumbled upon in this incarnation, Dylan. And I don't know his last name. I should probably text him and ask. But Dylan, who I sat down with yesterday, in this exact location here in the studio, in my place. We talked for a couple of hours, and 2 of them were recorded that you will see right now, with him telling his story. The main attraction here is that him and his friend were the first humans to ride a uniwheel, which is a motorized electric unicycle, a single wheel, across the country from New York to here in California, Bay Area, which is a lot of miles. It's got to be over 3,000. I don't know. We didn't cover numbers, but we got a lot of really good stories about this. He calls himself a super hobo, and I would say that's one of the many cool descriptions of our new friend and our new dream talker, Dylan. We also, of course, get into spiritual matters and stories and non-duality, and I met him through Paul, like a good majority of the people that have been on Dream Talking in the past and probably will in the future. So he's down with non-duality, the message, the good stuff, and has a very intense and interesting waking up, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, story, and it's worth a listen. So this was a beautiful conversation for me, and I hope you guys find value in it, and I hope that you're as excited as I am to start up Dream Talking again, and adding the visual element now, recording it live, and we'll see where it goes. So welcome, and I hope you can follow us on this journey. Yeah, I some of the times when the energetic stuff has really bubbled up in me has been in his backyard.
Yeah.
Him talking, the birds chirping, and he hits that zone. It's like the subjective experience for me, and I'd like to hear your take, and we'll get a historical take too. Of it's like in the movies when the sound goes away. Everything gets real quiet.
Yeah.
Everything kind of slows down. I've had those in the backyard with Paul. Probably more anywhere else on the face of the planet.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool. So, okay, let me do this the right way, and then we'll start the edit some right here. Dylan, welcome to Dream Talking. It's the name of the show.
Okay, perfect. Lovely.
Thank you for we're re-upping this. We're bringing it back after over a year and a half break, and I'm very honored that you're the first one to do it here in the studio. I've considered, I want to put a sign on the wall saying Dream Talking Studio. So people come in. So I want to record a lot here.
Wow.
But you're the first one, man. So thank you.
That's amazing.
Okay.
No, it's like because you're saying you interviewed Paul, and so I feel like a bit of a first. Now this is a first for me too, because I've been like hoping that a lot of people are saying that they want to do a podcast with me or interview me because of riding cross country.
Of course, that's the story.
And they're like, oh, this is a great story.
Just make sure we caught that. Riding across the country on a unicycle.
On electric unicycle. Electric unicycle. Yeah.
So if you're watching YouTube, because I hear people quit
Yeah.
pretty early if there's nothing interesting,
Yeah.
that's worth sticking around for.
Yeah, my name is Dylan Wiedmen, but you can look up Dylan and White Tiger, and you'll find it'll come to the top.
Yeah.
Because I had a plush white tiger on the front of the unicycle.
Oh, really? Right on.
Yeah.
Where's the tiger now?
It's on the front of the trailer now. It's
yeah.
gained some weight since you got a bit sedentary.
Yeah. I gotta meet the tiger, man.
Yeah.
I can't wait to come
Yeah.
by it.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have said, like, oh, this is a great story, I want to interview you, you should write something up, da da da. You're the first one to actually do it.
Right on.
Yeah.
Cool.
Other than my mother, but that was kind of like over the phone and didn't go anywhere.
Okay.
A couple newspapers.
I bet. Oh god.
But the first actual was like talking.
Any TV news?
No TV news.
Oh really? Okay. Well, hey, this is the first one.
Yeah.
This is video. This is going out.
Yeah. So finally, so this is like, in the, I didn't know the name was Dream Talking, and this whole thing, the ride itself, I mean, like, I felt like it, my whole, this year, and like, I came to a realization, I started looking into dreaming, like, as opposed to doing.
Yes.
You know, if this
100%.
is dreaming.
Yep.
So I get like a premonition, and it's like the dreams are like muses, you know,
Yes, 100%.
and they're water, but I don't, things don't happen in logical ways. I could make a list and go, okay, I'll call this person,
Yeah.
like, it's more just like I dream it up and keep talking about it, dreaming it together
Yeah.
with my friend Tristan. We were building first, before the wheels, we were getting all into mythology and the gods and stuff.
We can talk about that.
Yeah,
Too.
and in fact, we started, and then I was going to do a radio show about that and did one, but then a job started, and when I work, so I went to New Jersey.
Okay.
And worked through the winter, and no, but I got my first wheel, and that was back in like 2017 or 18.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember, but and then Tristan, I got another wheel, and Tristan started riding, and at that time we were making this like stone hut in the woods that's like kind of a hobo spot that overlooks the river and the train tracks and the bridge and the mountains and the sunset.
Yeah. Nice.
And slowly working on that and just dreaming this whole thing of like.
So you've seen it as kind of like a premonition, like a dream, and then you started building it?
Well, even the wheel itself, that too, yeah, that place, but we're talking about being robo-hobos, you know, with these wheels.
Robo-hobos.
Because we realized, both of us, he used to be a train hopper, I used to be a hitchhiker,
Yeah.
and like, you know, we've done it the hard way, and now we
bring it to the 21st century.
yeah, finally this thing has come,
Yeah.
and
You were the first hobo to cash the check.
well, and we were talking just about making hobo life easier, you know, hobo tech, like, it's like, you know, I know there's not much of a market for that, that's why, you know, everything's designed for the glamping or whatnot,
Of course, yes.
or ultralight hiking or something,
Yeah.
right? You know, it's like, but who's gonna make the good gear for the hobos?
Yeah.
Make your own.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
That's it, man.
But we started dreaming it up, and like everything we were talking about earlier, like the changes in my life. Like, it's all been it's like this dream, and then it's strange, like how it just continues, it keeps opening up, and
It
happening
has that quality.
in non-linear ways
Yep.
that you can trust.
Yeah. So this exact moment, this exact event is an example of that, which I fucking love. You know, I've plenty of Paul talks, see people, hey, how's it going, and this and that, and I don't even know what sparked it, but we started talking. And I actually had plans today, and today wasn't supposed to be free, but it became free, and I hit you up. And you were so cool yesterday too, dude, about like, I'm not busy, man. Like,
Like, you know, just hit me up. If something opens up, just go for it. And so few people do that with me, and I end up in this weird, because I work so fucking much, plus the kids, plus other things, that I'm like, oh man, it's hard to find this time. This is a tiny little puzzle piece that happened to fit in this afternoon.
Yeah.
And you know, the fact that it's happening, it has that dream quality to it, of like, I'm following an instinct to something that this is what life is offering. This is a check that I'm gonna cash that life is offering. Hang out with cool people, get to know them, and record it and fucking share it with the world. Because there's a lot of lonely people out there too that want to, you know, hear some people's story, and you know, and that's why I fell in love with podcasting in the first place. I was fucking lonely. I was driving, you know, 2.5 hours in traffic every day, and I wanted to listen to friends talk to each other. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah, and get to know each other and share their stories and stuff. So it's dreams on top of dreams. It's good stuff, man. Yeah. So right on. Okay, I'm gonna try to be a little bit of an interview host.
Okay.
And ask you to start. Dealer's choice. You can start at the beginning, your childhood, or we can jump up to your spiritual awakening.
We can touch them all quick.
Yeah.
But
Where'd you grow up?
Where'd I grow up? Born. This kind of matters a little bit. I guess so. I was my dad was a fisherman on Cape Cod, where my family's from, or his family's from, and my parents are hippies. So I was born there, and then they decided to go like traveling around Europe and stuff while the baby was carryable. So the first year was on the road, like or the second year or whatnot. I think I turned 2 in Greece, learned to walk and talk there. And so I grew up a little bit, you know, being carried, but that way. So that's still a comfortable thing for me.
Yeah.
And for my parents too, in that way, like sleeping on couches or whatnot. But like for me, especially, the roads.
It's home. Yeah. Staying in one place for too long is,
Yeah. And,
not built into your DNA.
And then when they got pregnant with my sister, they were just back and broke from broke. They spent all their money. Right? And their friends were on Tennessee Farm, which is the largest hippie commune in the U.S.
Still today?
It's probably still today, but or not necessarily. Maybe Twin Oaks or something. I don't know if they're hippies. You know, but like the farm was 1,400 people at that time. You know, probably 3/4 of them children, but or 2/3 of them, but and was total commune, everything in common, above the guitar. Personal money, you could go get money from the bank lady if you needed to go off to go see your family, or like everything in common. They pay off your truck, they paid off college loans.
Holy shit.
And vows of poverty, and you know, growing food, and it's a famous thing in itself.
Yeah,
The Tennessee Farm.
I mean, I've heard of communes, but I didn't know that level. 1,400 people. That's
Stephen Gaskin. They were the main driving force behind midwifery, the resurgence of midwifery in the U.S.
Midwifery.
Yeah, Ina May.
Oh, okay.
Wrote spiritual midwifery. They had a book publishing company. They had they had an international relief organization. There was 50 satellite communities, and so we mostly lived on the one in upstate New York, which was like 50 people.
Okay.
And
you're how old at this point?
This is all like, so this is from 2 to 6.
Okay.
But it was formative.
Very formative, yeah.
And then we moved off the commune. The commune broke up, and we moved into town. And it was like the early 80s, and it was like still like anti-communist stuff. So all the kids were like, you know, it was a redneck town, so they were like, kill the commie. So that was my introduction to America. And then we moved to like the poor side of town in Oneonta, and I got like a paper route. You know, as a kid, started being young, and Michael J. Fox or Alex Keaton from Family Ties, who was like a young Republican in that show. Yeah, it was kind of like my role model in elementary school, so I was going to be like It's like really serious. I'm gonna make money.
Yeah.
But that rebellion lasted about 2 years. I'm still a hustler by state.
You got it out of your system.
Yeah, I realized my parents were right.
Dude, I'm just laughing at myself because I said we can skip your childhood if you want. This is an interesting ass childhood. We got it.
So then luckily we moved to Cape Cod. My dad was working jobs and going to school and whatnot. And he got into grad school back on the Cape in an MIT as an oceanographic as a oceanographer.
Oh shit.
Right. It got all of a sudden the parents had a little bit more money. I got to high school. All of a sudden I was cool. I was a skateboarder and whatnot, and like got to change my image, so it was a good turnaround.
Yeah.
And
you had some serious identity shifts all through the first.
well, it's the same identity, just I got I was the
Put
new
new
kid.
flavors on it.
Yeah,
You kept
new kid in a place with like whatever, and then I got out of high school. I graduated high school a year early because I would have dropped out otherwise. I hated it, and went hitchhiking cross country. Came back with lice and giardia and all that. Recovered, and immediately got a call out of the blue to work on the research ships out of Woods Hole because I had applied there through an after-school job that I had for whatever, and became a dishwasher. Flew immediately to San Diego, maybe 2 weeks after my 18th birthday, and got on the ship supposedly for 2 weeks, but ended up being on there for a few months, and got working my way onto the deck, and so I ended up working on those ships for a couple of years and traveling around the world doing that. And then having a bunch of money in my pocket when I stopped going. Doing that
You're on a ship
at
trying to
20.
spend money and you're getting paid.
So we're coming right through because I'd gotten parasites in Africa. My digestion had gotten killed by the drugs that they'd given me to get rid of the parasites. And I was like falling asleep. I was trying to organize a youth center in my hometown. I was working on one of the local boats occasionally, but I was like losing all my energy. And
from the medicine, from the medicine.
Yeah, I had my poop was yellow. There was nothing working.
Yeah.
And I didn't know and I was all gummed up, basically, it was just tired.
Yeah.
And I had friends that I met at a festival the year before that were calling me every day and putting me on the phone with like girls and stuff, being like, Dylan, come out here. And it was a massage school in Northern California called Heartwood. In Humboldt County, like right on the Humboldt, like up in the hills in the Emerald Triangle.
Where the good weed is.
Yeah, and this was 1987, six. So I had just got back from Africa, and they were like, come out here, and I went out there because I couldn't anyway, and it was healing art school, so it was massage and Healing with Whole Foods. Paul Pitchford, I don't know if you've ever read that book, but he was a teacher there, and that was like a very famous book. So I was learning how to like doing all these cleanses, healing with Whole Foods.
Yeah, okay.
So I was doing all these parasite cleanses and it was perfect, and getting Reiki done on me and learning shiatsu, and I was cooking. I started as a maintenance guy there. Doing the trash and the hot tubs.
And then you started learning all these different skills.
And then I started working in the kitchen, and you could sign up for any classes you want. My favorite was hypnotherapy.
Oh, dude.
And Patrick was an amazing teacher.
My history?
No.
So the cult, that was their big deal, was hypnotherapy.
Which
I grew up in
NLP or which one?
To be honest, I don't know, because similar to like you saying you wanted to be Jeff Foxworthy
or whatever, yeah.
I rebelled against the hypnotherapy and the spirit healing and stuff like that. It's all bullshit, and I've slowly come back around to So one of the things I like to do is go on psychic fail videos online and see like Sylvia
That's hilarious.
Watch Sylvia Brown go, I see your husband drowning. And then the woman's like, no, he died in a fire. Oh, the sprinklers must have been going off. It's therapeutic.
Oh my God.
It's therapeutic.
Oh yeah, that's lovely.
For me, yeah.
Yeah, so the hypnotherapy that I was studying was very grounded and practical and
Yeah.
non-woo-woo.
And I'll let you just to.
Yeah.
I know now that there are some telepathic researchers that I actually really respect. I think.
Oh, there's that too. Yeah.
I think there's a really cool industry. It's a really cool field of study for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
But it's just funny that you said that. I was all
Yeah.
saying hypnotherapy. Okay, right on.
I think it was Ericksonian.
Okay.
So
I
Eric
do know
Erickson
Erickson,
was I think it was Eric Erickson. Yeah, I think was the founder. His book Teaching Tales of Milton. Is it Milton Erickson?
Milton Erickson. I don't know.
I think it might be Milton
These
Erickson.
are names I heard growing up.
And his stuff is lovely. And his top student founded NLP, which is mostly goes into advertising. It's very manipulative, right? And,
yeah, that's what Michael was into.
Right.
They were into taking the Social Security checks of old ladies that.
Oh, it's very effective.
Yeah, I know.
And so that's the dark side. But the goal of this was mainly the hardest part. It's just while we're on the topic was like he's like, you know, do as little as possible. Like if you don't have to regret, like really the hardest part or like the most important part is figuring out what people want, because they come in thinking they want one thing and you're like, yeah, but why do you want that? But usually you don't have to do anything, because by the time they figure out by the time they actually figure out what they came in there for, then they'll have a solution.
And they walk away going, how do they know what I really wanted? I didn't even know what I wanted.
Yeah, well, it's like you literally just keep asking them why they want that.
Oh yeah, I think I do that
Yeah.
similar technique to that to people all the fucking time.
Yeah.
That's good shit.
And so yeah, you don't have to, and it doesn't, you know, a lot of it was like creating memories that could help you, like you don't need, it's not important what happened, it's important like what's happening now, you know, and what's disabling you. So it's not the truth of the matter, so whether, you know, so we don't have to get into whether that was actually your past life or not.
Because the present truth can be served by a fictional story of anything, of course, 100%. One of my best buddies is my friend Elizabeth. She's been on Dream Talking. It's been a few years. Her teacher Dorothy Allison. I have some of her books here. Used to say something along the lines of, in fiction we lie to tell a deeper truth that autobiographical stories could never tell. Right. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's that.
You get the poetic license to be more truthful.
Exactly. That's it.
More true to the sense.
Yeah.
What you're trying to do.
Right on. Okay, so we're at the Whole Foods Healing.
Yes, at Hartwood.
Hartwood Institute.
And
you're learning all sorts of cool
stuff. Yeah.
hippie shit. Late 90s.
Yeah, 1996.
Okay.
And I was 7, and they were doing holotropic breath work there, and a friend of mine did a session with me, and it had one of the classic kind of rebirthing aspects of some of those. When you're hyperventilating. This was done without music, but you have your mind, but it was private, not in a room with lots of other people. And
just you.
Just me
and one coach, or
and practitioner.
This is the first time you've done it? Was when you had an experience, or have you been doing it for a while?
That was the first time.
First time.
Yeah, it was the first time. And and you're doing like the pushing, and they hold the pillows against you, and you're like, so you're going into that.
Yeah.
And I had. And I think it was a memory of like not wanting to go to school because in kindergarten on the farm, because I wanted to be near my mom. Because actually, like, in the sense there was because I was preemie and had been separated from, a lonely preemie baby for a while.
Oh, you're in the hospital?
In the hospital, yeah, that sort of thing.
Put in the tank?
Yeah, put in the tank and tortured, yeah. And but you know.
And was that coming up?
And then so we went from the the 5-year-old memory to the
oh wow.
to kind a little, just a touch of that memory, but then right back to the womb, and then into the past life memory, to the bardo of the, you know, and seeing kind of the light, being in light and wanting to, feeling pure love, but I kind of screwed up and wanted to come back, but forgetting that you come back as a baby. I was didn't get around to the thing.
Dude, this is so fucking awesome. We gotta stay here a little bit longer. Just that little description you just gave.
Yeah.
Preemie, into the womb, into the bardo, seeing the light, a sense of peace, freedom.
Oh, pure love. Yeah, you're just you're washed over by the pure love and kind of
a little bit of the human comes back and you feel guilty, like you don't deserve it, or.
Well, it was no, it was fuck, I missed the point. I was I just want to share, I just want to share this love. So I'm so the cup is overflowing essentially,
yeah.
and coming back to earth, you're oh no, I had. This was the cup. I was supposed to be spilling this down there. I was down there to share this, but I got caught up in my memory of it, or at least my memory of it was that I'd been an old Jewish lawyer, and I just got a little caught up in the arguments. Yeah,
this is going into the past life.
Yeah, that's where I'd been coming from, and kind of forgot what I'd come for. So now I need to go back, and then oh fuck, I'm a baby. Get to a tortured, this didn't work out. Everything's overwhelming. By the time you're old enough to do anything about it, the whole karma and trauma's reaffixed.
God, dude, you just took me through a psychedelic trip. That was fucking amazing. Yeah. I've had nothing to that extreme doing a holotropic breathing or anything, but I've had sort of half asleep, half awake, sober moments of sort of that cycle of where you go I say, I don't know why the phrase resonates with me, playing with house money, with the cup overflowing.
Yeah.
I get this download of, you're playing with house money. Stop fucking hoarding your love and your fucking share it. What are you doing? Why are you fucking holding on to it?
Oh wow.
Yeah, and as you were explaining that, something connected of that memory of wait, why are we here again? Oh yeah, to fucking connect and share and you already have everything you need and more. Fucking give it, share it.
That's so scary. You're right. The house money, that's pure.
We're all playing with that. Yeah. That's good shit. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, not sorry. That's it. Thanks. I'm putting that in my billfold.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Yeah. Wow, what an experience. Okay, I'm going to take us back to Dylan breathing.
Yeah. So that was. I mean, that really went through, and then the calm afterwards, and I woke up the next morning. I mean, I went, whatever. I felt wore out, and we went, eventually, ate dinner or something, and went to bed. I woke up the next morning, but when I got up, it felt like the sunshine was going right through me. Like the sun was shining, but there was no shadow. It just was everything. I felt translucent.
You felt, like you were one with the light.
I felt literally translucent.
Somebody.
And I went up to the yoga class that I would go to every morning. Now I've never been there. I've always had tight peps as a skateboarder. I don't stretch, but I've been taking yoga class there. And Gaina was the teacher, and she had long braids down to her ankles, and she use them. She'd wrap them around your legs so you could use them as a rope to get into stretches and stuff like that. And She's awesome, but a bit of a drill sergeant, Aries. And Patrick was her husband, who's the hypnosis teacher.
What a couple, yeah.
And but so I went up to her class, and I went to stretch, and there was zero resistance. Like I went to like a full split. I could like lay flat. Like there was no, like it was as if I had like. And she saw immediately. She's like, "Oh, you've made some progress today." And also there was like that like really just like quiet like and like radiating energy that everybody around me seemed to be picking up fully, like a holy man sort of.
Yeah.
Just
you're the Ramana Maharshi of the.
Yeah, it stepped in and so like I don't even remember like that may have gone on for days or a couple weeks at most, but like, because it was all kind of a blur after that. There, like I remember one of my other classes, I mean, forget what it was, but sitting there, this is memory, but things were going on like that like I was hearing all the words about 5 seconds before they were said, or 4 seconds before they were said. So I was laughing at jokes before they were said. And it'd just be this giggling. I had like my thing over me, just like giggling and hearing everything first, and then people saying,
You were ahead of the show.
Yeah. And sometimes people were like, there was no like, I wasn't engaging. Yeah. And then out of the blue, basically, I got a phone call from home saying my grandfather was dying. Would I come back east?
Oh.
And
Bro, what timing?
And everyone was like, I don't think you should go. and I didn't think I felt like I shouldn't go either, but I did have this thing that recurred. It's a funny. Maybe this is a funny spiritual trap, or I don't even know the answer to it, But like where I'm like, well, what I'm having here is so beautiful, but if it's conditional, like it's, I know that these things, I know, I've read the Tao Te Ching or whatnot, and like, I meditated on the shows and stuff. I read all kinds of spiritual books, been raised on it, but.
You had a little bit of framing to have an idea of what's going on.
Too much, perhaps.
Too much,
and it's too much hero's journey, perhaps. But which I'm still doing. But
I did it.
But I was like, but if this could be messed up, then it's not. It's not true.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go see the family. This doesn't feel right because hey, let's see what that does. Right, which a lot of people are like, oh.
Do you know the Ram Dass quote? He says, he has a lot of quotes, but he says, if you think you're enlightened, spend a weekend with your family.
Well, that's exactly what I did.
That's exactly what you did. Nothing will fucking kill enlightenment.
So on my way into town, you came down the mountain, and I could feel like up there things are kind of peaceful, so it was mostly just my radiating energy, but I could feel the heat of the anger of the land coming out, like the human thing. Didn't bother me, but start smoking, start drinking, but then that's when I noticed I couldn't become intoxicated no matter how much I consumed. Like
it didn't change.
Like it's funny. The smoke also. I also felt translucent to the smoke.
Like it wasn't even.
Or the alcohol, like it felt like it poured right out. Like nothing. I could do any drugs and go out. Like nothing seemed to have any effects. I was still just like, I was like, well, okay, so this is holding up. I didn't need to be all pure up there. That's a good one. And I got on the plane and I got home. That turns out the plane gets delayed for a day. It's Tower Air back then, which was kind of like the Greyhound of airplanes, and they only had like one plane that went back and forth. So you'd have, if it gets delayed, they'd keep telling you hour by hour that it's delayed, but that could go on for 24 hours, and it's like a bus station,
Dude, maybe even better than Weekend with with your family. Sitting at an airport with delayed flights, and if you can keep the condition
For 24 hours.
For 24 fucking hours, that's, I don't know if Ramana or the Buddha could handle
Yeah,
that.
it held up that far. But I hadn't made it to my parents.
You couldn't orchestrate a more perfect bringing you down.
Yeah.
Okay. Delayed flights for 24 hours straight, but he only gets an update every hour.
Yeah.
And then go spend time with his dying grandpa.
Supposedly, but he had recovered by the time I got there.
Oh my god.
And instead there was some other drama between my parents, which since I was in this state, I can't quite remember. I just started doing energy work on my mother.
That's beautiful.
And it was very healing. I think maybe there had been some infidelity or something, I don't know. And I don't recall, but but in doing the healing work on my mother, I could, and around my father, who I think was in pain a bit too at that time, like they both had some pain going. I felt it was as if I was soft wax, and as I worked to heal them, I felt the karmic imprints,
the karmic messiness,
to get nicely set back into place. That stuff that had been released through got all set back into where it belonged in the organs.
Yeah.
the generational traumas and all that, like I got the anger and like everything. The demons were all like, okay,
yeah. Wow.
So to speak. You understand it.
Metaphorically.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Metaphorically. I feel it. It's,
yeah. And all I can say is that then I went back, and I was like, just started smoking cigarettes, which I hadn't in like since I had quit on the ships early on, so I hadn't been a smoker for a couple of years. And just coffee, weed, and cigarettes. It's been all new up ever since.
Yeah.
Because it stopped. Yeah, it stopped being I stopped being afraid either way. So the coffee, weed, cigarettes, we'll see. But like, I'm not doing it.
No, when you say afraid either way, you mean you're afraid of going back.
Back or
of losing
it. Yeah, that's not a lot of concern anymore. It's just a little. I mean.
Wow.
Ideally, the relief of non-duality is.
The relief of duality.
It's just this the supernatural, or that those levels, they're amazing, but it's just they're light. They're not the weight that we could.
That holds us here.
They're not so. It's not. That's not the drama anymore. Like you can really, like you see, it's actually whatever. It really is. It really is always.
It's always
available. Is always available.
Yeah.
You really can't fuck it up like that. You really only can fuck it up like that. Whatever you want. Like it's. It's a relief so strong that it usually scares me.
Yeah, exactly, dude. 100%. Yeah, and
but it really is just a relief. If they only knew how. If you only knew, besides the wild stories of yesterday's coffee time, it really is just it's so relieving when you're dead.
Yeah, and that's the real gift.
Now that story didn't end. The awakening experience. Then I was like in Earth First that summer, and then I came home, and then out east, and then I started my polarity therapy teacher had sold me on a book from his guru, who was a Krishna devotee and a woman who had written like the story of Krishna, like that is called the Faith God. And of course, when I was home,
like Krishna and
yeah.
Shakti stories.
So when I was home, obviously in the mundanity, in the like back with all the imprints and stuff, I started missing this thing, and I took a devotional path, and very quickly things opened right up. Like because I was reading this book that at first I thought was too cheesy, and then I couldn't put down, and then, like the heart was just going, and then my knees were getting bloody from prostration soon enough.
My God!
In my room.
Yeah,
but,
to Krishna, to
Krishna, to the one, to the beloved, and I'm reading Rumi and.
Dude, as soon as you said beloved, the first thing that popped in. I can't fucking read Rumi without crying. Now,
Yeah.
Still to this day, it's that devotional.
Yeah.
The beloved, the longing.
And Hafiz is the one that really spoke to me. The Daniel Ladinsky.
What's it called?
Daniel Ladinsky is
That's
a
a
Baba
translator.
lover.
Yeah.
He has renderings of Hafiz. They're they're wild
He takes
renderings.
celebrations.
Yeah. So he's still, that's my favorite
Yeah.
books.
Yeah.
And my parents are cool. They picked up on it. They were like, just like, okay, they're the same.
Oh
in this
wow.
room.
Oh yeah, well they're hippies.
Yeah. So they could tell the energy had like changed. But
They're like, man, we tried to put those karmic imprints back, but
well, I started getting upset with them because all of a sudden I was still striving in this place, but also fearful. Like, that's when the sleepless nights started.
Yep. Yeah.
That were scarily silent and calm. It wasn't like sleepless, like I can't sleep. It was like so restful that there's no sleep to be
Like deeper than sleep.
As
we shared yesterday at the coffee shop, I only ever experienced a month of that.
That's more than I got. That's a lot more than I got. Only a month of that. It's fucking eternity.
And dude, beyond
That's
eternity.
amazing. That's amazing.
Beyond eternity.
Yeah.
And I think Ramana says, or the way that they translate one of Ramana Maharshi's things is, what you are in deep dreamless, your truest nature emerges in deep dreamless sleep. Right? And I think I had heard that before having this, and I remember in the void, in the, nothingness, this little popping up of like, oh, that's what Ramana meant. But we. It's just a little fucking blip in the code, in the matrix, and
Self came in and tried to get it. It was like,
I know this one is.
No. Guy in the front of the theater there.
Just real quick, this is totally off subject, but because you said self come in. In my first year of listening to Paul, I was working in the Tenderloin in San Francisco. And I used to show up there. I would start work at 6:30, and I'd show up at 6 and sleep in my car for a half an hour in the Tenderloin before the fucking sun came up, right? And I was listening to Paul through the radio, laying there, kind of half asleep, half awake state, right? And sort of Nick came online and heard Paul's voice. It's dreaming. This is dreaming. There's no reality, there's no thing that's actually happening, it's dreaming. You're giving everything all the meaning it has. He's very intense, right? And I'm kind of like coming online. And then I looked at the clock and I seen it's like 6:28. And then, this is a story, my interpretation.
Yeah.
Like the body got up and was like opening the car and stuff, but Nick was not online.
Yeah.
And I seen the selfing want to freak out about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a car engine trying to turn over, but it wouldn't take. It was like, like the selfing was like, freak out about this, you're not in control. Freak out about this, you're not in control. It wouldn't. And it was like an out of body experience. I watched the body go into the building and then the selfing, and then it kicked over, and then the engine started. And it's like, okay, Nick's back online.
Yeah.
You reminded me a little bit of that. Speaking of those deep, sleepless, not dreaming but not awake. That was something triggered by the Paul talk of like, no one's online, the body's moving.
Oh yeah.
But Nick's not steering it,
Yeah.
And then you get that whole having never left, of like, well, who's ever steering?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, sorry, that was total.
Well, no, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I wonder, you get in, we could almost get,
We still haven't gotten to the wheel.
well, we get into it that way, is that the, you know, the cerebellum is mostly driving this thing,
Yeah.
most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Not that, I don't think it doesn't do the organs and stuff, but it does all the fine motor skills, like literally driving the car.
Nervous system.
Yeah, that's why you can be spaced out and like it still gets you there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, of course.
and that's what skateboarding or any sport,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like you're learning in your sleep. In that, you know, you do something and then literally the brain is processing it at night when it's not busy doing the other things.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so the fine motor skills aren't being used while you're sleeping because it's locked it down.
That's when it's learning.
And then it's studying those. It's going over the information,
Yep.
and then you have the fine motor skills next time. And so wheeling, when you were talking about that, I was like, that reminds me of wheeling and ketamine.
Oh.
No.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
You know,
100%.
because I'll be sitting there, and when I'm not using my motor skills, I can actually get totally tripped out and overwhelmed. I'm not particularly into it. You know, whatever, but then I've been like, oh, I gotta go, and I get up, and like all of a sudden, like, oh, I'm not freaked out because this thing is just totally sober, and it puts on the thing, and it goes wheeling, and it's perfect control, and I'm just watching it, and it's a little bit like calming the baby too, you know, that like the mind can go kind of crazy places, but when the attention is taken.
Yeah.
In a way, you're relieved of your duties.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like,
Of the usual story you're telling yourself.
Like it's obvious that the body doesn't, like, it's walking up the hill. It's not watching out for rocks and everything. It's,
yeah.
You know what
the
I mean?
body has an intelligence of its own.
Yeah.
For sure. And
especially, the only thing that can limit that is another draw so strong on your attention that the unconscious attention isn't even there to do its job.
Yeah, dude, that's the spotlight of consciousness is so hardcore.
It's pulling so hard off that battery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
resentment.
if you just soften it a little bit, you can walk and chew gum.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to just be like, no chewing gum. It's like, no, just don't, like...
Yeah, 100%. And
just don't chew so hard, and
that phenomenon you're speaking of reminds me a lot of weed. I don't smoke hardly at all anymore, or edibles, but when I did, I remember that, like, weed showing me that the story I tell myself of needing to control all these, as you're saying, walking up the hill, I need to pay attention and look for rocks, I need to this and that, and realize that's a total fucking story. That the mind can let off of the gas so much, and this is this has its own renewable source.
It's a self-balancing, self-driving car, like,
100%.
and that is the wheel. So the wheel came to me in like a dream, not really a dream, like sleeping dream, but it was the day. A lot of my dreaming is a daydream.
Yeah. Do you like the metaphor of downloads? I like that.
Yeah, I get a lot of I do.
Yeah. It feels like it comes from somewhere else, and it's so clear and so clearly not manufactured by Dylan or Nick, and it's.
I don't know. Mine tend to have a lot of
Good.
personal symbols on there,
Yeah.
but they're still downloads.
Yeah.
And that was one of them. Was
And it served you.
I was like, wait a minute, I knew about electric bikes and stuff, and I'd seen one of these long before, and I was like, I wonder if those are real now. I wonder if those are powerful, like if they
Can really go.
go off road.
This is what year we're talking here?
2018
2018.
or 2017, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And I looked it up, and these full-size ones were just developing. Like, they were just going from like toy to like
Serious.
just starting to be able to go like 25 or 30 miles an hour and powerful enough. And the first ones like that were coming out, and so that's the one I bought when I went to New Jersey. And I was like, I wonder if they really are, and it was exactly what I had
You had
imagined.
imagined.
And it feels like dream flying. because we're self-balancing, so that's how we move. And as soon as you let the wheel do it, like it becomes your wheel, like, and you're
It
just
becomes an extension of your body.
yeah, it's absolute, yeah, and
It feels more natural than riding a bike, even a skateboard.
yeah,
Yeah,
because your body is the throttle and steering.
that's so fucking cool.
And whichever direction you go with it, that's like how it's affecting the movement.
Uh-huh.
If you're leaning right, and so it becomes that like you're just moving at the speed of thought. Like you just feel like, like you know, just like a bird, like turning, like coming in. Like there's no, you're not operating. Obviously, the body's able to. When you're driving a car, you feel like the car is you. You know, you can feel like
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
under the tires through
Uh-huh.
the thing, but you kind of imagine the, you know, it's like.
Yeah.
But
This
this is the most.
The least veil between you and the
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah.
Dude, okay, so whoever owns these companies, there's your ad right there. I mean, there's your fucking.
Well, everyone who rides is a zealot.
Yeah.
I could get free stuff if I had a lot of followers on social media,
Uh-huh.
which has its own, you know, that's a thing. You can get, yeah. I'm a little been virtually shy. I barely shared the story, even though I did this as a NBD, you know, never been done.
Yeah.
And my friend Tristan too came out with me. We traveled together and apart,
Uh-huh.
kind of week on, week off. with each
Tristan
other.
went the same distance?
Yeah. Oh, he kept going actually, because both our wheels busted here,
Where are you gonna go?
and then he fixed his, and he went all the way down. No, he went all the way down to Baja.
Oh,
and,
shit.
And then he took a train back to New
East Coast.
York. Yeah.
And you stayed out here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so that
Yeah.
that tied it in
It
to,
does.
and the dream with this again started with Tristan and I just talking about like a new nomadism and like kind of a superhero, like a natural human. I can't even get into this. It's like I don't remember where we started because that came later.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like once you
It's
start.
how our memories piece
Um,
stuff together. Yeah.
But as far as downloads go, you mentioned downloads, and so you can't tell all the stories, but I had a Halloween download. Now, I think we were maybe in Missoula on Halloween. Can't remember, maybe Montana. Because we left on September 7th from the Hudson Valley,
Okay.
and from Germantown, New York, and I got to Berkeley on like November 5th or maybe 12th or something like that, early November.
2 weeks?
2 months.
Sorry, right there. 2 months?
Yeah, 2 months.
That seems really quick.
Yeah.
You guys were booking.
Well, we did like 100 miles a day.
Yeah.
Some days we went more,
Wow.
and we stopped a couple places for a week.
Uh-huh.
But you know, just coming across, there was this thing where here we were kind of like living like superheroes, but looking like bums. We were super bums. And
Super bum.
People, so when I'm in a park at night charging, you know, I mean, I'm just a homeless person. People see me. In fact, they're a little concerned because I also have body armor, and like they're like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
like well, that guy's definitely crazy because there's no like, the wheel is so small that it's kind of like back. They just see like a plush tiger's head and a bunch of stuff and a guy in a big
It's
coat
even worse
and
than
some
you wearing this because you're in body armor.
yeah, body armor and bags.
This
and
guy thinks he's a superhero, and you're like,
Yeah.
I am a superhero.
the people
Do you know what I'm doing? I'm right.
Yeah, people have no idea. They just think this is a crazy bum. I've never seen him before. He's in our park.
That's so odd because even if you were explaining what you were doing, they're gonna go, "Oh yeah,
They're
he's
not gonna
crazy. He's
believe you.
schizophrenic. He's making up a story."
They often wouldn't hear it.
Yeah.
No, they would like be asking me, and I would tell them 3 times. And it wasn't until I put my stuff on and got back on the wheel, and then they would be like, "Wait a minute, what's going on?" It's like they actually hadn't. they'd be asking me questions, wondering who I was, and not be able to hear. I mean, because it couldn't make
Dude,
sense.
there's something like, you know, when the boats came over Christopher Columbus.
Right. Yes. One
They
of those.
couldn't see the boats because it wasn't a part of their reality.
That's a very real thing on the wheel. In
Yeah.
that cars will literally, people will look up at an intersection,
Yeah.
make eye contact with you,
Uh-huh.
and then aim for you. And the reality is they did not register what you were, and therefore they didn't see. They looked right at you, didn't register, and are coming right, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry." So
Because you don't fit into their reality.
It's one of those categories.
There's
yeah.
no guy that can ride around.
No, that's not a thing. And so you have to remember that when you're riding, that people literally can't see you,
Yeah,
even if they
wow.
can.
Yeah, it's already fucking dangerous enough.
But that's why when I put the Tiger on, that changed a little bit, where people started seeing me. Because they look up and they didn't just see a guy with no vehicle moving at high rates of speed, which was confusing. They saw a white tiger, full-size white tiger's face, and they thought, you know, it hit the prey response, and they're like, okay, there's something to see here, and then they got the picture.
Wow.
You know.
Psychology of that.
Yeah.
Did that come to you as a download, or were you...
No, that was actually like the tiger was. We went through breakup, and there was stuff left over that wasn't mine. What do I do with this plush white tiger? Let's see, make a little silly video by putting it on my reel, like and filming from the tiger's perspective.
yeah.
And that kind of works, but it was flopping over the light. And I put it up higher, and then I noticed I could put my it was like a cup holder.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it became
It had some
convenient, my
utility,
stereo
yeah.
in there, whatever, you know. So and then it just stayed on, and I didn't, and then.
It served other purposes.
Well, and then when I come to find out, now we're in the year of the tiger, and so like I went to like a Chinese New Year's rave that there was like, you know, 800 sexy white tigers dancing on the, like I was like, oh, I guess we made it, Tiger, you know, like
It's
it was
a
like
sign.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it was just wild, like
Yeah.
it's all been wonderful, it all aligned in a way.
Yeah.
So the download, so the bum, and the people just afraid, and
Yeah, that must have. I mean, it must have been rare to find somebody welcoming in Middle America.
mhm.
Yeah. In
But-
body armor.
but the angels were also like, oh my god, like you just dropped out of.
Yeah.
And a lot of people too would admit, like they're like, am I tripping?
Yeah.
Like they would question their own sanity, but that didn't make them trust me, you know what I mean? Or they'd be friendly with me at first and be like, wow, this is amazing, and like everything's great, and they're all like, you can be like, oh, you wanna, you know, go, and then they look over and it's as if the dog realized he was hanging out with the wolf, you know, like,
Yeah.
and be like, oh, I gotta go, you know, like.
Wow, man.
But worse than that, what I saw was that there was really, you know, if I slept in a park or anything like that, I had to avoid places that were legitimately parks because I'd be woken up by the rangers or the cops being like, you're not allowed to sleep here. Parks are for recreation for people who have houses.
Yeah.
And there is like no place
Yeah.
for nomads anymore, you know. And even COVID, a lot of homeless people have been moved inside, so even the kind of the leftover homeless community is very lonely too. Although there's these big encampments too. And it's all and especially on the plains, it was like there's like white settlers, and they're building. They're like it's clearly like things are getting developed across South Dakota and Wyoming, and Montana, you know, and homeless Indians. You know, and where there's more of that, people were more fearful of me as like a wild, another wild. And I just got this whole thing that like civilization. So the download was that civilization is a settlement project. Obviously, it's like we talk about how we talk about it that way. It's not even an argument. That's history.
Yeah, that's what human history is.
And,
It's a
and
settlement.
yeah, and those who refuse to settle, they'll take their kids away. They'll kill them. They'll do anything. And the reason is because you can't profit. What's the word?
So the first instinct is you can't control somebody. That. Right?
Well, no, it's worse. It's just that like you literally you can't make a profit off of unsettled people. You need them to be settled so that they pay taxes or rent, right? 'Cause, I mean, that's literally. I mean, towns will be like, hey, we're struggling to pay for the schools. Let's sell off this town land so we'll have more of a tax base,
Yeah.
right? So you literally there you are. You have the common land, and it's like, well, we got to come up with some money here. So it's not. It doesn't have to be so. I mean, that's just how it's done.
Yes.
Right? But in an empire sense, you're like, oh, we've got these nomads here. To make that land profitable, we need to settle it.
Yeah.
Whether it's them or other people, the people who are going to sell.
Yeah, we'll make it appealing for people to come and migrate here to buy homes.
And settling also has
pay taxes.
I mean, to me, has at least the association of settling for less, you know.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I realized just that like most of our ancestors, or if not all, were forced to settle at first somewhere along the line, or at least were lured by public baths and like just the good life of not wearing pants, you know. And then now what do we have? There's no public baths.
Yeah.
Everyone's wearing pants. And like, no, this was not the deal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this is not the deal. And the struggle with like a lot of homeless people who, you know, they're like, oh, we gave them a home and then they just moved back outside. Well, in a way, the domesticated life, at least to some of us, is not a dignified life.
Yeah.
And that like we know that humans weren't originally like
designed for this.
well. Here's the situation, and maybe this will come around to some other view, but like, is that, you know, there's nothing wrong with being comfortable, but what builds up when you have walls around you and you're insulated, this also happens with wealth, is that your comfort is very conditional. In your mind, in your mind, because you realize you're comfortable here, but not out there.
Yeah.
You know the old why, you know, like why rich men can't enter the kingdom of heaven. They've got too much to lose.
Yeah, you sit here going, I'm not fully happy or comfortable, and it takes all this fucking money and all this property and all this shit just to get to where I'm at right here and now.
Yeah.
So I can't lose it. It's gonna get even worse, and I'm already not that fucking happy, or I don't feel that comfortable or confident in my existence. So I gotta at least hoard what I have, if not build on top of that.
Right.
And that's, you know, I'm into. Have we talked yet about the Stoic philosophers, Seneca or so these are like ancient Greek philosophers, and they used to do things where they would. So like Seneca was the second richest man.
Was Diogenes considered a Stoic?
I think so. Yeah, Diogenes would be a Stoic. Epictetus, who was a slave, but Seneca was the second richest man in Rome, and he used to. I think it was like 1 week a month. He would live off of the least possible means he could. So like the equivalent of rice and beans. I don't know what it was in ancient Greece, but he would eat almost nothing. You know, damn near starve to death. He wouldn't enjoy any of the niceness of life. He'd go outside and he'd sleep on the streets and this and that. And he'd do it as an exercise to remind himself, this is no different than that life.
Yeah.
So don't live in fear, because if you end up on the street, it's going to be the same thing as inside your castle, if not better. And he was able to live free of all of these things, and it's almost kind of like a. And
that's why the, you know, those who are trained for power are raised with the classics, and so must have it.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. Yeah, no. A lot of the guys and the billionaires in Silicon Valley who actually have you know, a decent moral code are setting the Stoics and are for
Right.
Elon Musk doesn't own a
Well,
home.
whether it's a moral code or just it's like you that's where your power is derived from. It's
Yeah.
not otherwise it's gonna start. Yeah.
Yeah. There's this book, Throwing Rocks at the Google Bus, and the author's
I remember that.
yeah, the author's name's escaping me. He might be from Berkeley. I think he's a local guy, and he wrote about how he had a bunch of billionaires pay him some insane amount of money to come and speak to him. Like these 4 guys in a room, and it was like more money than he would make normally doing, you know, selling books, or it was like $50,000 to sit with these guys for a day. And he was kind of like, you know, I don't feel great about it, but it's a lot of fucking money. Maybe I could do some good with that money, with my organizations and my stuff. So he goes and he sits down with them, and he realized real quick as they're talking, you know, as the pleasantries kind of get out of the way, they're like, okay, so when the event happens, how can we best keep ourselves from the masses, you know, coming in and killing us and taking our stuff?
They're asking him that?
Because he wrote this book about, you know,
Right. How the pitchforks.
the pitchforks.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's looking at these billionaires going, oh my God, you guys are the least free people.
Yeah.
You're the most anxiety-filled, least free people I've ever met in my life. Right?
Yeah.
Because every day they're just thinking about, so we know we've been screwing, you know, we've been taking advantage of lesser people for you know, our entire fucking career. That's what we built our wealth on. But we don't even get to enjoy the wealth because we know at some point, you know, they're gonna come for us.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna turn around. So they're not even enjoying the fruits of their fucking, you know.
I mean, they're getting to play that game. That doesn't seem to be one of their favorite games anyway.
Well,
you know,
honestly, right,
it's a good replacement for Dungeons and Dragons.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not so bad.
Real human life, you know.
I remember I did work. I worked for an internet rich guy who also was taking a more you know, playful approach to that. But yeah, they all like that game.
It's all game, yeah. Anyway,
it's definitely cursed. You know, some of the same problems, but saw means offering some, you know, perhaps some lightning way, whatever. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Yeah. And it worked out. Mixed results.
Yeah. So that all came from the download.
So the download. No, but it just was this whole like
You're able to
that civilization and settlement thing, and that this is what it does, and they've outlawed nomadic, and it led to this sense of like wanting there to be like a homeless or hobo pride movement.
Wow.
In the way that like, because here I am like, you know, about as proud as a hobo gets.
Yeah.
I feel stylish.
Yeah.
You know, I think I feel like a superhero often, as well as human. But you know,
I think if the hobos are gonna pick a hero, I mean,
no, there's plenty more skilled ones than me. I'm still like rusty and not that good at it. There's, you know, this is the thing, is here I am not doing it well and feeling pretty awesome. But it's still vulnerable to the judgment and feeling like shy about coming into a coffee shop to like buy the most expensive coffee and charge my wheel to do this trip, because like I'm this like bum, and like, and what I see is that the homeless people and their forced conditions, perhaps maybe not by choice like me, are also feeling bad about themselves and have that similar look on their face, you know, like, and I was like, you know, this is a natural way. This is the way of freedom and justice in their like original way. And I'm actually reading an amazing book right now called The Beginning of Everything by David Graeber and it's all the indigenous critiques of civilization right along these lines. Yeah. Amazing book. So I'm not even, you know, this download has plenty of
fuel.
Or precursor. You know, this is not on me. and it's funny, like, yeah, and the homeless pride, but actually, homeless borders on homeless supremacy. And that's kind of where my mind started going with it. I was like, a response, and people, my friends, my family, everyone's so offended when I really went into my shtick about that and like channeled it. Like I said, there's some personal bits, right? I have my own chip.
Of course.
And but people get offended, and it's funny because you know, what is it? What happens? What's the opposite of settling? Unsettled.
Unsettled.
And people find it unsettling.
Yeah.
They feel like they're personally being attacked because they are personally invested in this project. In this project, and they're building up their dung piles, and like that's their sense of security rather than, and this is it, rather than feeling at home and secure in the world and with God or whoever, you know, and like how things unfold. And that doesn't mean a house would stop you from that, but there is kind of the drive of the civilization, and even the advertising, the literal advertising, is to make you feel like you're not safe, so you might need to add to your dung pile. Yeah. And that's what's driving this whole thing, so that people can make. I mean, that's capitalism. That's the whole project of empire has been the whole time, and that's why they're settling everybody and putting them to work. You know, and
it's a good download.
And then they make you feel bad if you don't have a house and you don't work. When actually it's the right thing to do. Actually the only dignified thing to do, perhaps.
Wow.
Obviously not required. I was trying to turn it on its head because the judgment is so extreme in one direction that when I bring it up with the same kind of judgment, people think I'm mad. I am. I'm angry, but they can't handle it. They'll break up with me as a friend. They cannot hear it.
You're making them face parts of themselves they don't want to.
Or
decisions that they
if I say it with half the severity of the other direction,
how they accuse you of.
Accuse me or just the societal, not them personally. You know what I mean?
Judgment.
And how they drive themselves to like do the things they do. They're like, wait a minute, like you're telling me that this is actually a trap, you know, and I'm not actually, but just it's a neat idea to entertain.
100%. Oh yeah.
You know, and I'm hoping, and so, but this is part of a larger download of, or not download, because that makes it sound like it's real. It's more of my
something
dream.
You're playing with.
Let's call it a dream, because
dream.
Because the dreams change and they don't need to be like reality, but
they point to something beyond the usual regular scheduled programming.
Is that there needs to be a circus to run away with. Like the world, there's a great displacement going on, and it's going to accelerate. We all know that. Climate change, all this stuff, right? And it's so funny. We talk about like all the cities that will be flooded. It's like New York. It's called New York. Sea level was 800 feet lower, 12,000 years ago. But people live there. In fact, all over, right, Atlantis. But it's clearly, it's all about it's about their homes. Like not their survival.
Their settlements.
Like we're not even, the settlements are nothing. They're camps. Let's just call them camps.
Temporary camps.
That's what we're humans. All settlement is a camp,
Yeah.
and in the Gypsy tradition and other nomadic cultures, they know that you can only stay in a camp for so long before it becomes disgusting and diseased and problematic. And it's like crop rotation. It actually is healthy for the land. You move on, you come back the next year, and now everything's flowering and beautiful because you left your trash there, and now it's all composted and it's wonderful. And so the nomadic, and
it's built into our nature as humans and the nature of the planet.
And I just right now, as when people are displaced, they're completely dependent on their relationships and their dung piles, right? And other than that, all places kind of suck equally, or they might be nice.
Weather's a little nicer here.
There's some there's worse and better, but people can be forgiven for feeling a little hopeless. Like hey, I'm not happy here, and there's no alternative.
Yeah.
You know, and not only that, like I'd be even more screwed anywhere else. So they're even more fearful of losing what they have. And I just think with this more displacement coming up, rather than doom and gloom, there needs to be a new nomadic society that rolls through town, is compelling, steals the women and children, steals their hearts. And that provides like an inspiration so people can say, hey, this is better for now.
Yeah.
And then when they find it, perhaps they settle down somewhere else, but they find some place they prefer. And in that way, I just think that one of the things in our society is that it's got poor circulation. We think of ourselves as moving all the time, but we know with the debt and all this stuff, which actually there's a bit of conspiracy around to keep people more.
Oh,
You're right here. Yeah. It's got poor circulation, and then things get depressed. There's
the nomadic circus you're talking about here, you can take the blinders off, if only for a moment.
It's just to create some circulation, you know, get the blood flowing.
Yeah.
You know, so that like it's like,
hey, there's a world out there.
Yeah.
Hey, there's other places.
Yeah, come have fun with us and get somewhere else. And I see this as being kind of like, you know, the cavalry. And that, I don't know, this might be a rave, is where I'm coming to. I want to build an ancient alien rave vehicle, a mothership.
I'm imagining just
that travels around.
Hundreds of gypsies on uniwheels coming through town, juggling and shit, and
chasing a giant mothership, surrounding a giant mothership that then opens up into a rave. It travels by night, by the way.
Where is it? Let's go.
Yeah, so, you know, get the kids.
Yes. Dude.
There's the van warriors too. I mean, there's gonna be those
guys. There's gonna be some vans. They're old school. They're purists.
Yeah.
The Amish of the UFO mothership.
Yeah.
Rave, gypsy, revolution.
Yeah.
Somebody watching this is sold, dude. They're gonna look for you, man. Plenty of them, actually.
Yeah. Well, I hope I'm easy to find soon enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's kind of the direction I'm going. I'm doing like connecting more with, again, with the Burning Man crowd. Because I just feel like there's not just Burning Man, but in California out here, there's so many old timers, total geniuses, amazing artists, who've also accumulated huge fortunes.
Yeah.
Many of them. And they were hoping to live for the revolution. They were hoping to live to see the day.
They want to see it. Yeah.
And they're desperate. And I'm like, so I'm trying to be a bit of a ringleader.
Let's make it happen.
In that sense, and get a collaboration going on to like get people get it moving.
Yeah.
Get it moving a little bit. Perhaps there's other more important things that I will also be doing, but this is my. So we went from the download of the Halloween download to actually the more recent download of the Ancient Alien Rave vehicle. But this is dream
talking.
Yeah,
dream talking.
This is dream talking, and this is what I do: is I talk my dreams through, and then bits and pieces seem to come together. I mean, and then you're like, I was coming, and then like, actually no, this was going this other way, but then it comes back around years later, like you know, like.
So this is what we're doing. So I used to call it, so Paul calls it verbal jazz. I say this is a verbal jazz duet. I'm playing something, you're playing something, we're going to create something totally unique. That the sum of each whole, the sum is greater than the parts, right?
Yeah.
And I actually learned over the last couple of years the ancient Greek phrase for this is theologos, which is acquiring knowledge and wisdom through dialogue.
Okay.
Right, and so you're bringing a little something to the table, I'm bringing a little something to the table, we're dreaming, and we're gonna slowly uncover this, you know, piece of clay of what, you know, what this dream is, what this future is, what this whatever is, and it's fun. And the process itself is its own reward. And then if at the end we end up with the mothership, then that's, you know, playing with house money.
Yeah, the house money. You should print. Can you print up some bills with Paul on there? Some balls.
House money.
Yeah, the house money.
That's a good one, man. I think we should do. So you just
because I need to keep that one in my pocket. I mean, that way I don't have to remember it.
yeah. So okay, you brought up aliens. I just have to because he's been on during talking about 3 times. I happen to be right here. Keith Thompson, Angels and Aliens.
Right.
Keith Thompson, everybody. I would give you this, but he signed it for me.
No.
So I will try to get you a copy.
Yeah, that's
So this is Keith is one of my best buddies in the whole world. I talked to him on the phone about 2 days ago. I met him through Paul. He is writing a book right now called Cosmos Calling, and he talks about the alien UFO supernatural phenomena being a call from the cosmos, right? He has this very interesting take. I think he is the most interesting thinker out there on the extraterrestrial phenomena in the world. I know that's a very bold statement to say, but he wrote this book back in the 90s, Angels and Aliens.
Because I remember it.
Oh, you did?
I remember that.
Oh, you know this book? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right on. Okay, yeah, so it's out of print now. It's rare. It's so funny. So I don't want to air his business too much, but he went to a event at Esalen recently.
Okay.
And it was all the who's who in the world of UFO phenomena, basically. The top, best of the best. And he kept meeting these people for the first time. And hey, my name's Keith Thompson. Not the Keith Thompson that wrote Angels and Aliens. He was just getting that left and right. Some of these people were like, oh, dude, you're the guy on this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do a very quick and dirty, poor man's blue collar synopsis of this theory. But it's basically that there's kind of 2 main camps in the world of UFO. There's the nuts and bolts guys who think that we're gonna find, physical evidence that there was a UFO crash here and there it is and the world has to believe it now. And then there's the debunkers that go, oh, that can be explained away, that can be explained away, and it's all bullshit basically. And Keith's take is, you were talking earlier about metaphors and symbols and stuff. He comes from kind of a Carl Jungish place of aliens are pointing to something that's kind of just beyond our basic understanding of physical reality and physics here and now. And that it's calling to us because all these not all, but a unknown specified percentage of abductions, of sightings and all of this is trying to call the human race to sort of what's next. What's next in our evolution, what's next in the unveiling of consciousness or anything like that. And as you were telling your story about the Uniwheel, I was thinking a little bit of Keith in that. So in his book, he writes about how whatever the latest technology of the time is, people see it and their fear of it represses to where they literally can't see it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, like, hot air balloons, were the latest and greatest technology of the time. And when people saw hot air balloons, not knowing what they were, oh, this is the devil, this is the demon, this is Satan, it's the end of the fucking world, this and that, right? Yeah. And so we've followed this on the road of technology over the last 100 years or whatever, and we're at the cutting edge here now. And there's a very small percentage of people that are open to like, what is the cosmos calling us to do, to go, what's next, right? And so I heard a lot of that in your latest dreaming.
Well, I believe these wheels are the biggest thing in human evolution since 2 feet.
Wow.
Because we went from 4, then we went to 2, then we stuck a wheel between it. For me, it excuses all of industrialization.
I gotta cut that clip. It excuses all of industrialization.
This was the point. This was what it was all for. Kind of like, I forget in the Hitchhiker's Guide what the point was, but right?
47.
42.
42, yeah.
And it's the 42. And then furthermore, there's I started playing around with playing lacrosse on these, and that's, I'm gonna I'm not going to go into detail with that because that would be a whole other interesting thing. Yeah, its own podcast I'd like to do some work on before we get there. But I was telling a friend about that. And so I'd never played lacrosse, but I was playing around with a stick and stuff like that. That's the whole story. That reminded him of that 80s movie he'd seen called Solar Babies.
Oh yeah.
You know Solar Babies?
I do know Solar Babies.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Where they play lacrosse on, is it a game, a sport, skateball, right? That's like the lacrosse sticks, and they have the roller skates. And they live in an orphanage, you get controlled by the E protectorate and whatever.
Yeah.
So I watched Solar Babies, and it's like, to me, it's pathetic. And it's done in the languages of its time. They couldn't have imagined the electric unicycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they have skates with lights on them. They're playing lacrosse, and the children are like in this fascist, under this fascist regime, which is how I don't see kids outside anymore. The way I grew up, and now I'm cruising around, and I have it all to myself, and I'm glad I don't have to be fearful of young teens throwing bottles at me or whatnot.
Yeah.
You know, but like they're not there.
Yeah.
And that's sad to me, but I'm hoping that these wheels are a way to get kids back from gaming back into the direct experience of the world, because they happen at a speed that
of gaming,
and their they are computers, and they do connect to your phone, and then kids can actually learn how to do the maintenance of these things and learn all the math and science that takes.
It's the gateway drug back outside.
I literally think it's all a kid needs now. There's a phone and a wheel. They don't need any school. It's all good from there. Like you give a kid a phone and a wheel, they're done. That's it.
Yeah.
And then mentorship.
Yeah.
You know, all the human community, but they'll actually be able to access that now because they can go 50 miles to wherever their mentor is. They can make their own connections with them.
Yes.
Their parents can know where they are and who they're mentoring with.
Yes.
It's like we don't need this fascist system anymore.
Bro,
So
we solved it, man.
yeah, and you don't need to entertain the kid either.
Oh,
No. Yeah, and body armor.
Body.
Plenty of body armor.
Okay, what's the body
Body armor. These things go 50 miles an hour.
Yeah. Okay. You've had some bad spills.
Yes. Protected and unprotected. Body armor makes a huge difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any spill? You must have had spills on the trip across country.
Yeah, just one good one.
With body armor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much recovery was involved?
None. I mean,
Dust yourself off?
Yeah, these are the result of that spill.
Oh.
So I was wearing knee pads, but they're not very good ones, and they bounced off. So the second one did come through. I was going 30 miles an hour. I bounced on my chest. I had a front bag and body armor, and still my ribs were sore for about a month and a half afterwards. But I got a flat tire and didn't realize it till I had lost control, and Superman bounced, and just bounced once and was basically on my feet almost immediately. But like I definitely slid some. But again, I had like the snowboarding gloves, armored underwear even, and my stereo, which I had mounted on my front pack, took most of the road rash.
Was it fucked up? Was it done?
No, still playing.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that was my biggest wipeout on the road.
And you were up and riding within?
No, I had a flat tire. A car was
okay.
passing me, and they saw it happen, and it was perfect because it was clear they pulled over to see if I was all right, and I said, yeah, I think I'm all right, but it's not working. Can I catch a ride into town? And I was in the middle of the Badlands, so I got a ride into 40 miles into town, and they were definitely not the type of people that had they come by a second later, and I was up walking this crazy contraption with a tiger on it. They would have thought I was a crazy man. They had nothing to do. They didn't even want to bring me to where I wanted to go or anything. They were nice enough. And but they stopped to make sure I wasn't dead, and so it worked out well. But what were you?
So before you explained your crash, we were explaining how to save society, the world, humanity.
Oh, but we were talking about solar babies.
Solar babies.
So in the movie Solar Babies,
Yes.
the kid, you know, the mascot of the team, with the ear, he's wearing he has electric ears.
Okay.
And right,
Yeah.
he's the young guy of the Solar Babies is their skateball team, and you know, as they're running from the police, he discovers this old mine shaft, and there's this orb in like a puddle in the mine shaft, and it's an alien intelligence that cures his hearing so he can hear finally. And then it brings rain into their like clubhouse, and then kind of has a will of its own that leads everyone on this chase that is a lot of home wrecking and destruction, but ultimately results in breaking the aqua bunker, which I consider to be the false scarcity. You know, so the water returns to the world, and the false scarcity, and that orb to me has now returned to Earth from 1,000 years in the future of 1980, the parallel universe in 1986, to here as in the form of something that can be written, so that we can play Unicross on these. Yeah, so we can play it. So
do you know who directed this movie or wrote it?
I do. I don't remember his name.
He
He only directed 2 movies. He was the choreographer for like Blazing Saddles and like a lot of, and so it's a Brooks film.
Okay.
And the choreographer, who was more of like a musical choreographer for all these the cheesy Mel Brooks movies, right? Well, he wanted to direct a movie, so it's filled with stars. All the child stars are in it. I don't know the names, but anyone who watches it who knows that era like recognizes people. It's the youngest they'd ever seen
all
them.
The big shots, yeah.
All the big shots are there. This movie was, you know, given everything, and they basically, it's just like a Rorschach of archetypes with poor excuses, just like life, for plot lines. And you know, so they just get all these money shots. They're like, yeah, throw one of those in there. I mean, I can just imagine it was the era when they just all had too much cocaine, and were like, yeah, that's great, perfect, that's what they're thinking of. And like, so it makes sense.
Write that down.
So it didn't really work out at the theater, you know. People were like, you know, they have like the E.T. shot in there. They have like it's kind of a Mad Max spin-off. It's got
a little bit
everything, and but now it's perfect. It's a perfect, for me.
Perfect prophetic metaphor for.
Not just prophetic, but it's enough of a Rorschach that allows, ideally, if a new society, you know, if there's a new culture of brewing, we can find something like the Bible or a common language. And I think Solar Babies is a good one because it's
required.
It's all the archetypes.
Watching.
Yeah, it's all the archetypes, and it can mean whatever you want it to mean.
Yes.
And that means it is indeed a language of, you know, and good prophecy. You know, good prophecy is one that could come true in a million different ways.
Yes. You don't want to
Nostradamus.
You don't want to be too detailed.
Yeah, leave it a little loose, you know.
Yeah.
So, so to me, that I watch it all the time. And
I haven't watched it in probably 10 years, so I'm gonna watch it probably tonight.
And it speaks to me in a dreamlike way that I can't quite grasp. But yeah, and I think these wheels are here to free childhood and the world and false scarcity, and there are an alien intelligence, and it's self-balancing.
Yeah.
On top of it, all the hype around the Segway.
Yeah.
It just hadn't reached its final form. There was a lot of hype around the Bone Shaker and the penny farthing too before.
What's that?
The early bicycles before the safety bike as we know it, the triangle frame.
Holy
It
shit.
was invented in the 1890s.
Yeah.
They were like, look at these amazing things we can kind of, and you're like, a bone shaker? That's kind of silly. You know, like, guy like kind of waddling above the thing, or penny farthing, totally dangerous, you know?
Yeah.
And then they came out with the safety bike, and it reached its form.
Yeah.
And so this is the it's reached its form, and it can change a little bit, but this will be around for the next 100 years, like like it is.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
You know, it's.
You said earlier that it made industrialization worth it.
Yeah.
It's something about there's that and it's the marrying of that and technology in a way that like you said, kids are outmatched. Paul will talk about iPads. The kids are outmatched. How are you going to compete with instantaneous response, any fantasy world, anything possible, just flooding you with dopamine nonstop. And one of the things he said that rung with me and stuck with me was, this is the one shot back because it is instantaneous response.
Yeah, it is.
And riding around on that must feel a little bit like having a GoPro, or what's it called?
Virtual reality
glasses.
It's like a full body. It's the full thing, and it's an all season pass to everywhere. It's not like the ski update. It's like everywhere. It's all
anywhere.
People are like, oh, you go to like a track with that? It's like you go to the skate park with that? It's like, well, you can, but there's like bumps and jumps absolutely everywhere for this thing.
Yeah.
And
the world is your course, anywhere, all the time. You said you were taking it on hiking trails in the Marin Headlands.
Oh yeah, I mean, riding out here, we did half of it on dirt bike trails, halfway across the country.
Yeah.
With our packs on and everything, like complicated ones even, mostly smooth ones.
Wow, and you had one crash. That's really crazy thinking of all it. Yeah, that's some next level.
I had one crash where I fell.
Okay, yeah.
I dropped the wheel a couple times and ran it out.
Yeah. But you never, no damage.
No.
Wow. That's really amazing.
The other thing is, so there's two other qualities to the wheel. My friend Tristan had really bad Lyme's disease, and I'd gotten him wheeling. Then, right at the beginning of COVID, he actually got hospitalized because he had like multiple kinds of Lyme's and was very weak and at home. And he was able to borrow against that first stimulus money to buy his first wheel. Because actually the wheel I let him ride got stolen, but anyways, and he got a wheel, and he was at home like dying, and I said, Tristan, here's the argument to your parents: you need a wheel to rebuild your strength. Like you're gonna, like this is like real. And he got one, and he did. He started riding again, and like everything came back, and it's because the adrenaline, that like good adrenaline, that light drip is anti-inflammatory.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of these diseases, it's the inflammation that gets you, and you just need a little adrenaline.
Yeah.
And that's what we're lacking. We get the stress kind of adrenaline, not the physical. I'm trying to avoid this physical danger right here.
The flow state.
We get this anxiety
without the reward
thing if we're not getting that natural human experience.
And the reward of I need to watch out for that rock. I watched out for it. Good job. Here's your
Oh, it's very grounding because if you don't stay present if you kind of lose yourself in thought, which is fine. I mean, your body can take care of it.
Yeah.
But there is also a very grounding experience. Sometimes kind of painful,
for sure.
It's a direct result to getting caught in anxiety. It's not going to help you navigate.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's very direct, and then so these wheels are like an incredible teacher on so many levels. They're gurus.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean is the Bodhi, that alien intelligence. It seems to have a will and intelligence of its own. It has musical preferences. What it's teaching you is to also to lean in. Like you really can't. So it's like whatever. So that a lot of our stance, even when people walk, you're kind of like.
Forward.
Yeah, you're kind of. People are like this, and people are like this. But to ride one of these, at first people go like this. They're trying to balance.
Yeah.
It's a self-balancing device. Like so the
So
natural.
if you're balanced, it's balanced.
So the natural, actually the best stance for it that you end up doing is this one of like your toes slightly turned out, your shoulders turned out,
Good posture.
and leading with your hara, and then trust falling, zooming like that. So you're like it's this whole like wide like hara led with your hara,
yeah,
like and then loosen the hips. So you're not stalling. You're just like
yeah,
like just.
it's like true yoga, like
Well,
for your nervous system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the stance. So I came cross country with that.
Jesus Christ.
That's and anybody and that's why it's so great is you can just be like, yeah, the wheel will get you there. You don't have to like.
It's a guru.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a guru.
it is. I've been doing yoga again for the first time in a long time, and I did that camel pose where you open up like this, right? And sometimes I'll get fucking emotional, just
Yeah.
relating with the hara for fucking 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Let alone across the United States. I can imagine that'll really rewire you.
Yeah, but you got music too, and you can sing, and you're like, it's that, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you go to you sit, so the other thing is you can sit on the yoga block, just Velcro to the top of my wheel.
And can you ride or?
And you ride,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So I spend half the time when I don't want to stand.
Uh-huh.
You're seated kind of low like this.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I'd be riding through the night just.
Oh, open your hips up.
And you're just you're just like.
Yeah.
Like,
Come on, man.
or like I'd have my tight. Sometimes when it's windy, I'd be bent down like this, hugging it. But you just. Yeah.
So that's the big. Okay, thinking of the audience. The question everyone wants to know: when did it rain? When was the elements really fucking rough? How did you handle it? I think you kind of just answered it, but.
Okay, so when I fell, that was a windy day.
Okay. How windy are we talking?
It was like a steady 25 miles an hour headwind.
Yeah, headwind.
And then when you're going 25, that makes it 50 miles an hour.
That's fucking heavy.
And that had come right after I'd been pinned down for a couple days at the Nike Missile Visitor Center in Cactus Flats, South Dakota, where all the missiles are.
Yeah.
And so I did my longest day. I got pulled into that. I had a tailwind because there was this big storm forming, this big spiral, right? And it was pulling winds in at like 35 miles an hour across the plains, steady 35 mile an hour wind out of the east, which rarely happens there. Yeah. And so I didn't stop. I went through. I was like, I'm going to use this.
Yeah.
So I made it 185 miles.
In a day?
In a day.
Jesus. You were flying.
I saw the northern lights as I started out from that night. I mean, I guess I had gone the whole day before too. So whatever, but I had this tailwind. I hit 65 miles an hour that day because with the tailwind, you can go faster.
This can go, you said 30?
This one goes 40.
40.
Mine goes 50, but I looked later at the thing and it hit 65, but it wasn't.
What the hell?
That's very dangerous because when you reach your top speed, if it can't keep up any further, you just go down. But it didn't, So anyways, that storm was pulling me right into the eye, and I hit the eye at Cactus Flats, right where and suddenly the winds were all confused, like 50 mile an hour gusts, 60 mile an hour, and it was right at dusk, and I went to the visitor center for the missile defense thing. It was closed, but just right under the gate. On the thing, and like,
dude,
and I was
make a movie about this.
Yeah, and I have some pictures in front of the Lao Tzu quote on it.
Oh.
Which
what?
I should read. It's
Is it from the Tao Te Ching?
Yeah, it's from the Tao Te Ching. Oh, no, it's from the Art of War.
Oh,
not Lao Tzu.
Oh.
Sun Tzu.
Okay.
Sorry, Lao Tzu would be great if they had that. But no.
I was about to.
No, it's the Art of War.
See if we can find it.
It's the Art of War that basically someday there will be this race of warriors so powerful that they won't have to fight and they'll win the day without shedding a drop of blood. And I imagine my robo-hobo to be this warriors. You know, right? Yeah. So I was there with my tiger like in front of it, and I slept on the you know, kind of under the porch, under the entrance there, behind a, you know, whatever, behind the bench.
Wow.
And like everything got wet except for my spot. Like I was just enough protected, and spent the whole day in the visitor center because it was a storm, and it got really bad that day. And then they kicked me out into it at the end of the day. And
they didn't let you sleep there. You stuck in.
No, they didn't invite me back. These are like rangers, and they saw what I was up to. And no, they did not want me back at their like trailers or anything. And they were young and regular ranger losers. I've never met a cool. Park rangers are cool about like 1%. Like they're not a good bunch. No. General. I mean, some of them are sweet. They're just kind of normies. But actually, I mean, they love nature. I know people do the backcountry stuff are usually right. But these guys.
So instead of saying, hey.
Anyway, I don't mean to talk too much trash. They didn't. They said, well, you should go to the.
Fuck them, man. They sent you out to the store.
Yeah, so they sent me to the motel where actually all of them have their trailers. They're like, well, maybe you should get a room over there, you know. And I went over there to hide in the lee until the wind was gonna die, maybe 3 in the morning or something. I figured I'd just hide in the lee. And the cleaning lady at the motel was like a beet harvest traveler girl. And she saw me, the thing, and immediately she was on the phone with the owner and was pointing to my room and telling me where the laundry was. And like it was all on the house, as you say. Yeah. So that was the first hotel. That was the
first time you
stayed in a room, got a shower and all that. Other than like, yeah. And so yeah, winds are a major thing. We got a little cold in Idaho. Tristan started getting hypothermic when we got into Coeur d'Alene because we got rained on all night, and then it started freezing in Coeur d'Alene. So he broke down and got a hotel room.
Yeah, it's October or so by then.
It was late October.
Yeah.
Oh, things were frozen.
Oh, yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah, we're crusting up. Our wet clothes were crusting up.
Oh yeah.
We rode
snow on you at all?
Yeah, we rode through some snow in Montana and Wyoming.
Yeah. Wow.
Idaho too. Yeah.
Where would you sleep in those places?
So the whole way across, I slept in my hammock tent, which was more comfortable than any bed I've had. And because of the wheel, I could always find a place to tie it up, even though you couldn't put it on the ground. It was a Crua, not that well made, but very comfortable and a little heavy.
When you said because of the wheel, would you tie the wheel to one?
Because the wheel could get me to the spot with tree. Like it wasn't like it's like I'll find a good spot.
Yeah.
And so if it was raining, I'd try to do it like in a pavilion or somewhere undercover. Honestly, in the East, it's very easy. People, for the most part, I don't know, in New York and stuff, like, it's very gentle. People are like, oh, you're camping for the night. Like, no big deal. You get to, like, the Midwest, they get more uptight. And although when you're far away from any kind of, like, vacation zone, if you're just into the farm zone, all of a sudden nobody cares. Like, they're just, hey, you're here. And like, I found frisbee golf courses to be the best kind of park.
That makes sense.
The what is that? The Kiwanis Club or whatever it was. It was always the frisbee golf course because like frisbee golfers are notoriously chill. So I could be strung up on a frisbee golf course, wake up the next morning, and they're like, "What's up, bro? What you doing?"
Yeah. That checks.
To meet some characters that way.
I bet. And they got to meet you, your character.
But it was warm. So below freezing and stuff, plenty of times. But it was with the sleeping bag, the hobo coat, the inflatable mattress.
You were mobile home.
No, I had I had everything. I had my every time I stopped to charge my wheel, which was every 15 to 40 miles. I'd stop to charge,
Oh.
and typically, so I'd ride for an hour or two and charge 2 or 3 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and or an hour and a half to 3 hours or something like that. And I had a water boiler and always had really good coffee and cream.
What foods?
Oh, just if I
Whatever you
try to hit a Trader Joe's or something like that and have like the nuts and chocolates and
Trauma.
crackers and peanut butter, whatever, that kind of stuff. And then, partway in, I started picking up this habit of not every night or even maybe once a week at first, but then it started to be more often in the West where things were really sparse.
That's what I'm thinking.
Of showing up at, I'd like to kind of pick a goal at how far I think I can make it that day and where I thought I'd be at midnight, and walk into a bar at midnight in the middle of nowhere, or ride into a bar in the middle of nowhere, like at midnight, just to see.
You got to, man.
And the first one I did like that was called Mug Shots.
Mug shots in what state?
In Cosmic, Minnesota.
Jesus. I didn't know
Where
it was a Cosmic, Minnesota.
It's this little cow town, and this little farming town. Bikers, supposedly this biker bar, and all the streets are named for the zodiac and for planets. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Cosmic Minnesota.
Cosmic Minnesota. And I came into Mug Shots one figuring.
See, if we turn this into a movie, people aren't gonna believe it. It's too good.
And we went in the Mug Shots being like, well, I mean, good bikers should be able to accept me. Here I am, basically a biker.
Yeah, one less wheel.
Right, yeah, but they should, come on, should be treated well. Well, I show up, I get there, I'm like, are you guys open? Because there's the bartender girl, younger woman, and the bar owner lady, and another lady, a regular sitting at the, so there's 3 ladies.
3 ladies.
And I said, what happened to the bikers? And they go, well, they all went to bed. I'm like, it's Saturday night, it's midnight. They're like, well, they're not like they used to be, they're all really just family guys and working guys, do it as a puppy. It's not, like real bikers. Like, wait a minute, what are you, And, but they were so sweet to me. We had a grand old time. They took my mugshot, of course.
Oh, nice.
Had me fill out the.
Did they have everyone's mugshot?
Yeah.
They should have had it with you with your Unimil.
Yeah. And they asked me, so what are you up to, and I said, well, eventually I'm going up, do this, and I'm trying to start a migration, so hopefully there'll be thousands of us next time I come through. And they go, oh, please come back with thousands. So they weren't just happy to have me, but they invited all of us back.
See?
All of us.
Join the movement. Cosmic Minnesota. Get your mugshot taken.
Yeah. There's room. So the Frisbee Golf Course has all these pavilions, but in that area where across the plains, this becomes a normal thing where these pavilions, but they have removable walls, so you can close them in, and they have power and water. These are parks and barbecues, and because people go and have parties in the parks and stuff like that. But this is just endless, and they in places like this that are just removed where there isn't a flow.
Yeah. These
places are literally free. They want you there because who else is gonna come there if they're not hospitable?
Yeah, they're doing it right.
And all the lakes are totally polluted and you can't swim anywhere, but that
sucks.
It's farmland.
Yeah.
And the people are sweet.
And
there's there's all these the snowmobile trails actually make these dirt trails that are perfectly smoothed down and soft, and they're the old rail beds, and they go everywhere.
That's perfect for the Unimil.
And it's so the Midwest is a lovely place.
There you go. But hey, man, the Midwest could use some. Right.
I had no idea the Great Lakes are like
Maybe.
Full seas. They're inland seas. They're beautiful.
The
beaches are amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the people are downtrodden. It's
Mhm.
it's it's time to spread some love.
Yeah. Oh man. Dude, we could go forever. Let me check the time.
Well, I think that was
We're 2 hours.
that's perfect.
Dude, that was
We have
awesome.
7 more minutes,
I think
Yeah.
if they aren't sold at this point, I'm sold, dude. I'm getting one. Fuck my job. Fuck.
No. Yeah, they fit right into regular life, and
They-
what they
yeah,
do is
I'm joking.
they make all your errand you're like, oh, do you need something from the store?
Yeah.
Oh, do you need something quick? Because you go out and it is quick. There's no
actually-
parking, there's no nothing.
No, it's actually perfect for the city.
Yeah, and so running out to get something that's 20 blocks away is a 7-minute errand full of joy.
Yeah.
So it totally flips
It's
it
like
around.
being a kid again.
Yeah, and it makes so all those things that were actually a pain in the ass because you forgot.
Mhm.
You're psyched when you forgot something because now you need to go for a ride.
Yeah.
It's constant.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all about anything that brings back childhood joy.
Yeah.
And this seems like the perfect bringing back childhood joy.
Oh yeah. Best. Yeah. Most joy for the buck.
Right on, man. Yeah, I think it's playing with house money.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
I think it's all the good stuff, man. Okay.
Yeah, so I want to do I want to get kids into it, especially because then, it's like one of those solutions that doesn't require maintenance.
Yeah.
It's when they start teaching each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
And having to hustle to pay for the parts.
Yeah, that too. It happened.
Delivery stuff.
Yeah.
Now, how old do you have to be to do Uber Eats? Because
You shouldn't have to be too old, especially if you're doing it on that.
I always lament the loss of I was a paper boy.
Mhm.
I met the other paper boys every morning before school at the Burger King, where we bought our own breakfast. We went out to lunch together.
Yeah.
You
build that camaraderie.
and we still saved money.
Yeah.
And this is an elementary school.
Yeah.
And kids love hustling more than adults do.
Yeah.
And why do we outlaw them from doing it and make us do
I
it?
don't want to do it. Yeah, man. Yeah.
So keep screaming, but that's
Yeah. I know, you could go for days.
yeah.
This one.
So thanks so much.
Thank you, man. This was really fucking
Yeah.
awesome. We went everywhere,
Everywhere I wanted to go, you really hit thank you so much.
No, thank you, man. And I mean, we went everywhere with the Uniwill, went everywhere with your story. We went all the way to conception and back to past lives.
Yeah.
To the non-dual, pure love,
Yeah.
consciousness, and then back all the way out to here. So we
It's all
traveled.
the same. Yeah. It's all the same place.
It's all the same place.
Yeah.
But we went some places in the gaming. And
Yeah.
it was really fucking fun, man.
Wow.
And I hope we can do it again.
Totally.
Many
Totally.
times and do lots of pick some new subjects, do some verbal jazz on. And,
Yeah. There's a couple other
of course, that's
couple
what
chapters.
But
For
thank you, Dylan.
so
For
much.
enjoying talking. We'll end it officially.